As the focal agency enabled by law to combat trafficking in persons, NAPTIP has a very vibrant legal and prosecution department that ensures effective prosecution of human traffickers. I am Emanuela Okeke. Thank you for joining us on NAPTIP on the Move. Our package today will enlighten you on the role of the legal and prosecution department in combating human trafficking. Don't go away.
Section 11, subsection 1B of the Trafficking in Persons Prohibition Enforcement and Administration Act 2015 provides for the establishment of the Legal and Prosecution Department, while Section 12, subsection 2 states the role of the department as follows. The Legal and Prosecution Department shall be responsible for the prosecution of offenders under this Act, support the agency and other departments with legal advice and assistance whenever it is required, conduct the proceedings as may be necessary towards the recovery of any asset or property confiscated, frozen, or forfeited under this Act, deal with matters connected with extradition and mutual assistance in criminal matters, and perform such other legal duties as the agency may refer to it from time to time.
The Legal and Prosecution Department of NAPTIP is provided for in the law that established NAPTIP, Trafficking in Persons Prohibition Law Enforcement and Administration Act. We are to ensure that we review all reports of cases investigated by the Investigation and Monitoring Department, and when we review it, we will find out if there are prima facie cases, against the suspected traffickers. And if we find one, the legal department will file a case in court by way of filing a charge, and we will proceed to prosecute such persons before the court. And the court that we have jurisdiction to prosecute in are the federal high courts, the state high courts, as well as the National Industrial Court. We also advise internally, all the other departments of the agency on all legal issues, and we write some letters on behalf of the agency to either lawyers or other firms, that may want to, get certain things cleared legally. So we also write, and we also prepare agreements for the agency. We call what we call Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, which has to do with our relationship with other organizations, either locally or internationally. We prepare it, and we ensure that the rights of the agency is protected at all times. So we also prepare contractual agreements, whereby we maintenance agreement for the agency. We will do all those things. Of course, we also handle the civil cases too. So far, the agency has been able to secure a commission of 336 persons who have been put behind bars over this crime, heinous crime of human trafficking. It is a good record, but then we want it to be higher. That's why all hands must be on deck to cooperate with us.
To ensure effective cooperation between the agency and its stakeholders, the department prepares bilateral and multilateral agreements.
We have a lot of relationship, bilateral and multilateral. Under the United Nations Transnational Organized Crime Convention on TOC, we are supposed to have relationship with all countries that have signed the convention. All of us are supposed to exchange information freely. both in terms of evidence, intelligence, and even exchange of suspects and victims. And we have on different kind of platform under which we work with them. So under the European Union Commission, they work with NAPTIP. So countries like Italy, Belgium, Netherlands, we will have MOU2 with Italy, and also have a cooperation agreement with Netherlands. So, and they have been working with us in order to see how we can stem the tide of human trafficking between Nigeria and European countries as well. And the United Nations bodies like United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime has been doing well with us as well. The ECOWAS region, we have ECOWAS agreement. We have what we call Economic Community of West African States, and as well Economic Community of Central African States. So we call it ECOWAS-ECAS agreement. We work under that platform in order to stem the tide of human trafficking, particularly in the Central Africa, because a lot of Nigerian victims have been trafficked through countries like Mali and Burkina Faso, and as well as Cote d'Ivoire. So with this kind of understanding, we have tried hard to really see how we can reduce the incidence of human trafficking. So our cooperation agreement is working well, but there's still room for improvement. We are calling on most of these countries who actually have not even done any law, because some countries don't have law, and some of them that have it, their laws are not adequate. So it is through advocacy, through enlightenment, and through talking to them, that for them to improve their law, so that when their laws are strong, the traffickers will have no hiding place. Because in Nigeria, we have pushed traffickers we are pushing them to the borders, and we may have safe havens in this country that don't have a good agreement. So that's why we are really working with them. The last time we were in Burkina Faso, and they were very much impressed with our own law, and they now want to adopt our law. So we gave them a copy. So they said they are trying to see how they can domesticate our own kind of law in their own country, so that they can have very strong law against human trafficking. So we have been doing well with some of these countries, but then there's room for improvement.
The Legal and Prosecution Department also organizes sensitization workshops for judges.
When the law against human trafficking was enacted in 2003, actually we had that Herculean task as an agency to be able to enlighten the entire public, even including members of the judiciary, the judges. So we have organized a lot of workshops for the judges to interact with them on these issues, because the crime of human trafficking, even though it is a global issue, it's not everyone that understands the nitty-gritty of it. So from time to time we have to continue, because even as we are discussing certain issues right now, there are emerging issues that comes up. So that is why giving workshops or interaction with the judges has been very crucial. We on our own as NAPTIP has sponsored a lot of workshops with the judges, and also our partners like United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime has also organized some. Many other partners have organized, and the judges have been very much pleased about it, because once they are much aware, it aids them or assists them in deciding their cases in court.
The agency has the power to seize, confiscate assets, and freeze the bank accounts of suspected traffickers.
Under the Trafficking in Persons Act, the agency is empowered to be able to attach the proceeds of the crime. That is to say, the money we discover, the asset, the property that we are able to trace in relation to the commission of the offense. So there's what we call interim attachment, and that's what we call final attachment. So one is this interim. During the process of filing the case against you, we also inform the court that these are the discoveries we have made. My Lord, when we went there to search this person's house, these are the things we discovered. That is the instrument which he was using to commit the crime. If we find that certain money entered that person's account from victim, we attach such money. And at the end of the day, the judge will be able to pronounce that this proceeds of crime should go to the Victims of Trafficking Trust Fund. That is what our law provides for, and that is to assist the victims of the crime. Because what is important is to deprive these traffickers of the proceeds of crime, because their target is to make the money. So once we are able to deprive them of that money, they were pushing them out of business. And that is why we always ask for cooperation from the banks, from even if it is insurance companies, all those institutions where people try to launder the proceeds of crime. Even if they refuse to cooperate with us, then they also committed an offense under our law. So we come after them. So that's why they are required to cooperate with us, so that they can aid us in doing the job.
Part 4 of the Trafficking in Persons Prohibition, Enforcement and Administration Act stipulates offences.
It entails the recruitment, the transfer, the receiver, the harboring of persons through the means of deception, through the means of force, of coercion, of debt bondage, and for the purpose of exploitation. So that is how the offenses are classified. So we have people that exploit others by way of labor exploitation. So when you engage someone to work for you for no pay, more like is slavery, you come in under our law. When you export someone from Nigeria to another country for the purpose of sexual or labor exploitation, you come under our law. The same thing when you import a foreigner into Nigeria to exploit that person, you come under our law. Then there's one we call organizing foreign travel for the purpose of prostitution. You don't even have to have exploited the person. What the law says that even if you attempt to, other offenses have to do with organ harvesting. Then issues of vulnerability. If a girl is in your home, you ask for her to come, that you want to be of help to her, and the family willingly, give them to you. And the next thing is to exploit that child, sexually or labor-wise. So that's why we say abuse of position of authority or of vulnerability. So those are another kind of class of exploitation or offenses under our law. We have ranges of offenses even if you detain someone for the purpose of exploiting that person, because it happens. That's why we'll be hearing about the issue of baby factory all over the place. So a lot of these are human trafficking related. And don't forget about internal trafficking, because internal trafficking is very much, much in Nigeria. So apart from the trafficking to outside the country, internal trafficking of children from the villages, to the cities is very much there. Because most of the times when they get those children, what they do is to make sure that they don't go to school. They continue cleaning the house, washing plates, or doing everything for them, and they don't let them go to school. So that is a serious form of human trafficking internally.
The stipulated penalties for the offences are:
the penalties so far have been made stringent. What you see in our law is that any person who is convicted for this kind of crime will be sentenced to not less than 2 years imprisonment. That's what you see. Some not less than 5 years imprisonment. Some not less than 7 years imprisonment. So that gave leverage for the judges who has the power to give sentences, to give as much as they can. So all they need to know is that they have a base, not less than 2 years. So they can give up to 3, 4. Even the one that is not less than 7 years, if the judge believes that us as prosecutors have been able to push in all the evidence we need to push in, they can even give 10. Because the base is not less than. So they can go as high as they can. But notwithstanding, we are still trying to work with our partners and see how we can further fortify this law to see that the people are punished maximally for their crime.
The Legal and Prosecution Department of NAPTIP is also saddled with the responsibility of prosecuting offences stipulated by the Violence Against Persons Act.
The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act has been passed in FCT, and it's working well. A lot of children are being protected because children, particularly the female children, are endangered species in homes that are not organized, where those children are being violated on daily basis. So because of the operation of the VAP Act, people we are now receiving reports, because that law says don't be quiet, don't be silent. So once we are being subjected to any forms of abuses, report. So even if we don't receive report from neighbors have been helping. Nigerians are helping us, the neighbors, everybody, the street. When they go and they see anything, they just NAPTIP come. It's like this is your area. They tell us, and if they cannot tell us physically or Bawara, they go to radio and we get information, and it's been helping, so that we can go and rescue that child from that exploitative condition or environment, and we now go and pick the violator, to be able to punish that violator.
Matters pertaining to prosecution of offenders has its challenges.
Our challenges are enormous because of the nature of crime of human trafficking. This crime is done under clandestine environment. People do it and hide. The way and manner trafficking takes place, sometimes takes place within family environment as well. It's not everyone that could identify human trafficking when it takes place. So that is why it is for the experts like the officers of NAPTIP to be able to tell you that this is the trafficker and this is the victim. Because sometimes the relationship between the trafficker and the victim cannot be easily discovered. Even the victims, because of the fear of a reprisal attack, the threats, they are not willing to come out. Particularly when victims are made to swear to oath of secrecy, not to reveal the identity of the trafficker and not to give out information to us. So over time, we have tried to gain their confidence, and that is the only way, we can get information from them. So that is one challenge that we are trying to overcome, in terms of trial. Because unless you get the evidence and you're able to push it to the judge, you cannot get conviction, So we are overcoming that. And again, in court, our cases line up, with other cases. There are no special courts for now, but the judiciary have been trying hard for us by designating certain courts or certain judges, for us to try human trafficking cases. That one is helping, because there's no specialized courts for human trafficking cases. We still line up. So delays in court due to many factors. Another challenge has to do with international exchange of information, because certain suspects, when they get here to Nigeria, for us, and the evidence that are required to prosecute them here in Nigeria is still domiciled in foreign countries. So we always ask them for cooperation, unless they cooperate with us, it's a big issue for us. Not only the suspect, even the victims. When we file cases in court and we now require them to come to testify, they are afraid. But because of the way the agency have really refocused itself, we are so grateful to the energy, the resilience, the wisdom, and the creativity of our current Director General, Julia Kadonle. From the way she has been doing things, a lot of victims are now willingly coming out on their own because they feel protected, because they need to be assured that they are protected. So we have assured them. And we have what we call the whistleblower policy, which is in line with the federal government policy for those informers over there, to come out to us and give us information. And it has been helpful. We tell them, once you give information, first, we are helping humanity. Secondly, you can get something in return for assisting a crime-fighting agency like NAPTIP.
With over 95% success in prosecution and many fruitful bilateral and multilateral cooperations, the Legal and Prosecution Department is leaving no stone unturned to ensure effective prosecution of human traffickers.
Human trafficking. It is a crime against God and humanity. You may wonder and say, I am not a trafficker. It doesn't apply to me. Think again, because if you are paying your employee through an agent, you are a trafficker. If you abduct people against their will, keep and exploit them, you are a trafficker. If you promise international jobs with intention to exploiting the victims, you are a trafficker. If you buy and sell human parts, you are a trafficker. If you are a travel agent, procuring visas and travel documents to ship people out for exploitative labor, you are a trafficker. There are so many components of trafficking with devastating effects on the victims. The victim may be your daughter, son, brother, sister, mother, or father. Stop human trafficking now.
Report cases of human trafficking to these NAPTIP hotlines: 0703 00 203, 080 02 255 627847. NAPTIP, empowered to protect you.
Our next segment will bring you NAPTIP events. Do stay with us. The federal government special delegation on a fact-finding mission to Libya, led by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Onyama, including the Director General of NAPTIP, Damjili Okodunli, and heads of other agencies, recently returned to Nigeria. This informed a press conference held at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja.
Mr. President directed that a team should visit Libya and to do everything possible to negotiate the immediate evacuation of Nigerians. who were stranded in Libya, in many cases in deplorable conditions. Now, the constitution, the composition of the delegation should reflect his vision of what we should be doing about the issue of irregular migrants, Nigerians. So there's the immigration aspect, and of course NEMA is used to embarking on these huge exercises that require real coordination and preparation to mount such an operation. The Director General of NAPTIP, again, was absolutely key, because a lot of these are young girls and young boys being trafficked. Human trafficking, human slavery, and enslavement. And NAPTIP is mandated, it is the organization for the prohibition of trafficking in persons. So her role, her leadership, and the role of her agency is absolutely key.
He also spoke in details about their visit to the camps.
Our first tasks were to visit the centers where these Nigerian boys and girls were being held. And we visited probably one of the biggest ones, called Tajura. And we were brought out, we asked to go and meet these boys and girls. They were, lined up outside, seated, in fact, about 350 of them. And we insisted with the authorities that we needed to go in and find those other Nigerians. And lo and behold, about another 300 and something Nigerians were brought out from different parts of the camp. And we met with them and we spoke with them, and of course there are horror stories that a number of them, had to tell us. And truly they were just over the moon and so happy to see us. And we represented for them that hope that they had almost lost. And we assured them that their lives mattered to us and that we are there for them and to take them home.
The Director General of NAPTIP, Dame Jenny Okudunni, spoke on the agency's involvement.
We went on a fact-finding mission, this particular team, to identify the detention camps, the number of returnees, and then to ensure their safe repatriation back to Nigeria. We're also involved actively in the profiling of these returnees who have arrived and who will continue to arrive. And so we are profiling the returnees in order to identify those who are victims of trafficking, take them to our shelters. Ours is also to actively be involved in the rehabilitation process. They're going to be properly counseled. Their medicals are also going to be taken care of, because some of them have different conditions in which they came back in. They will be properly treated by our hospitals and doctors around the shelters, and then they can be rehabilitated. This entails involving them in whatever it is they want to do. They have a choice to make. And then, of course, in NAPTIP it's very important to prosecute, because that is the justice that you can give to these victims. It's not enough to just rehabilitate them and let them go. For us in NAPTIP, when we prosecute the traffickers and get them locked up, that's the mission accomplished, and that is what we plan to accomplish as well.
The Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency, Mustafa May Haja, and the Federal Commissioner for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Sadia Umar Farouk, also spoke on the mission. The Comptroller General of Immigration, Mohammed Babandede, shared details on Nigerians deported in 2017.
We have received in our country deportees, specifically from Libya, 5,908 deportees only from Libya last year. Total number of deportees we have from Saudi Arabia is 3,836. From other countries, Europe has been deported. The highest number comes from South Africa, Italy, and Austria. The total number we have, 6,643. So grand total of persons deported to Nigeria in 2017 is 16,387. We are afraid this might continue, may even be higher. in 2018.
It was highly interactive as some of the salient questions asked by the press were duly addressed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Director General of NAPTIP, and other officials.
For more inquiries and support or to report cases of suspected human trafficking and child abuse, please call NAPTIP hotlines on 0703 0000203 or 0800 2255 627847 or email info@naptip.gov.ng. Visit our website on www.naptip.gov.ng and follow us on our social media platforms at NAPTIP Nigeria.
Now you know that NAPTIP swings right into action when you report cases of human trafficking, so play your part. Report today. Thank you for watching and do join us again next week. I am Emmanuel Okeke. Goodbye.